I'm honored to induct Jamie McConnell into the New York Hall of Fame. He was born in 1912, and sadly, he died December 4th, 2008. He was 96 years old, but he was active right up till last summer when he rode in the Dietrich pace car at a Scarborough parade celebrating their 350th anniversary. One of the reasons he was honored is he started auto racing in Maine. Sure, there was racing at local fairgrounds, but he was the first person to organize racers and to provide a steady place for them to come. He moved to southern Maine from Nova Scotia at an early age and worked on aircraft at the Scarborough Airport, so he was familiar with the area. He worked briefly in Massachusetts, but returned to Maine at the end of World War II and started a timber and sawmill. And through his connections, he started trading land, and he ended up with land that was at Two Rod Roads and Holmes Road, and it was 35 acres, and it was formerly known as the Ling Raceway, and they raced horses on it years before, but it was all overgrown, and he tried to convince local bankers to finance him, and they thought he was crazy. So he had the construction equipment, so we worked all of 1948 to configure the track, to build the grandstands, and it opened on Memorial Day in 1949. It was a sunny, dusty, and dirty day, but the fans came and the cars came. The season continued, and it ebbed and flowed, but it was considered a success. One fan, George Damon, was so excited by this first season that he later built Oxford Plains Speedway. So now, J.B. McConnell is now responsible for 2 speedways in Maine. In the fall of 1949, this is after he got Dietrich going, he also helped rework the horse track at Unity Fairgrounds into Unity Raceway. That track still operating today. That's track number 3. He also helped Tom Gilmet build a paved track in Sanford, Maine. That was track number 4. That's no longer running, but he was responsible for helping it get off the ground. In the mid-60s, he helped the Arundel Speedway get up and running, mostly by bringing his racers down to the racetrack. That's track number 5. He also gave Charlie Elliott $10,000 to help finish paving Star Speedway in New Hampshire. That's track number 6. So he was very instrumental in all these tracks. He was not adverse to racing himself. Just last week, I spoke to somebody that at a West Peabody track, he owned a Lincoln Coupe. And during intermission, he raced his brand new Lincoln Coupe with Bernard Holsworth, whose father was president of Springvale Bank. Bernard had his father's 4-door caddy, and they raced. And my dad was the one that tells me this story. He says the caddy was so heavy then the tires were rolling and the rims were putting out sparks. Needless to say, the Lincoln Coupe bested the 4-door caddy sedan. Believe it or not, J.B. McConnell reached his 60s in the 70s. And he was looking to sell Dietrich Motor Speedway. Because of its proximity to the Maine Turnpike, Portland, and the coastal area, there was high demand for the property, but nobody wanted it as a racetrack. Some people wanted to put a drug depot in there, and he refused to sell to these people. He later sold it for a lot less money than he could have got for it to Calvin Reynolds. who had raced at the racetrack and owned a motorcycle shop not too far away. So it stayed a racetrack. The track was later sold to Ralph Cusack, another racer, and today is owned by one of his sons, Andy Cusack. The racetrack, Beech Ridge, has never shut down, and today is considered the longest continuously run track in the state of Maine. I was invited to replace Tom Alleman, who was to present this presentation, by Bruce Cohen, because I was from Maine and he wanted a Maine accent. I've obviously lived in the Bay State too long because I've talked too long, because if I was truly from Maine, this is what I would have said. JB, Beech Ridge Motor Speedway, all that other stuff, you've done wicked good. Thank you.
I'll greet you, the grandson of Jim McConnell, Wade Worcester.
I'd like to say a few things on behalf of the McConnell family. My grandfather, Jim, passed away in December, but he was very honored that he was accepted and inducted into the New England Racing Hall of Fame. And I'd just like to say thank you so much to him for everything he has done in his whole life. If he didn't build Beech Ridge, my father would have never raced. I probably wouldn't be racing. Racing is all of our lives, my family's lives, and I'd love to say thank you so much to the committee for honoring him and his whole family for coming. His wife Doreen, his daughter Janet is here, and his great-grandson, and I thank you, everybody, thank you very much for coming tonight. Thank you.